switch off your camera. You may also decide to switch off the camera whilst our guests are speaking, which just sort of reduces the visual clutter a bit on screen, making it easier for everyone to navigate. A warm welcome for those of you that are coming onto one of these webinars for the first time. I'm Andrew Dakers, Chief Exec of West London Business and a member of the Brent Business Board. And I've worked on environmental sustainability issues for some 20 years. Brent Council and West London Business have worked in partnership to develop this series of 5 webinars, each looking at sustainability in a different sector. Today, the spotlight falls on hospitality. This is part of our shared ambition to support local businesses to go green. The key aim of the webinar is to provide practical advice for going green in a way that helps businesses to survive and thrive. The low carbon circular economy is an economy that minimises waste and negative impacts on the environment. We already have some 850 businesses in the borough involved in the low carbon circular economy, and we're striving to build on this. We know that there are calls from local consumers for this shift to happen, and there are key benefits for businesses that make this move. As will be explored through today's webinar and the wider series, going green can help improve performance, drive innovation, and reduce costs. A little bit of housekeeping from me before we kick off, just to flag if everyone can try and keep your microphones on mute if you're not speaking. There will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end, and you can post any questions in the chat sort of window, and we'll come to these during the Q&A. And you can, of course, put up your hand to ask a question. There's a virtual hand that I think you'll find sort of at the bottom of the participants list. So if you'd rather contribute orally rather than typing a question, do use that hands up function later on. The slides and key resources and takeaway sort of notes will all be shared with attendees after the event, and hopefully also on the Council's website too. Our agenda for this morning is packed as always. We are, in just a moment, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Sheth, and then we will be hearing, first of all, from Nishma and Maresh Shah of Shamboos. So we're going to have a sort of a case study to get the conversation started. Then we're going to go to the sort of big picture and hear from Claire Whiteley of the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, all the sort of tools and resources that are available for any business to take off the shelf and get started or progress on these issues. And then we're going to return to sort of case study mode and hear from another local business. We'll hear from Rima Mavani of McDonald's, a local McDonald's franchisee, which is I'm really looking forward to that exciting mix of contributions from a diverse group of panelists, and then we'll wrap up the hour with a Q&A. So hopefully those questions will start to flow in. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand over to Councillor Sheth.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm Councillor Krupa Sheth. I'm the Cabinet Member for Environment at Brent, and I lead on the climate emergency agenda. In July 2019, Brent Council declared a climate and ecological emergency, and we committed to doing all in our power to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. Despite the uncertainty of the past year, we know one thing: climate change is still coming, and it is coming fast. We cannot lose sight of the need for all of us as individuals and as businesses to act and avoid catastrophe, but also ensure our economic recovery from COVID-19 is more environmentally sustainable, green, and fair. Brent is in the process of finalising its climate and ecological emergency strategy for the next 10 years. This strategy has been shaped by a year of engagement with our residents and stakeholders. Some of the core objectives within our strategy are built around supporting the transition to a low-carbon, circular economy model, and also supporting our businesses to go green and reduce their carbon footprint. We know that the last year has been very challenging for many of our businesses. We hope that these webinars can help give some practical advice for going green in ways that also benefits your business and helps you to survive and thrive in these difficult times. We encourage you to join our new Brent Environmental Network, which will be a key mechanism to encourage collaboration, share information, and open up dialogue around climate action with Brent residents, businesses, and organisations. It'll also be used to alert you to any opportunities, funding, and tips to help reduce your business's environmental impact. You can sign up for free through the Brent Council website. We also encourage you to sign up to the Brent Business e-newsletter, which will keep you up to date on the latest business news, events, and updates. Links to both of these will be posted in the chat. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Sheth. And without further ado, we're going to pass the baton on to Nishma and Mahesh to tell your story. I think you may have some slides that you're going to bring up. Welcome.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. We'll just get our share sorted out. Yeah, do that. Sorry. Right, can you see our slide now?
Not quite, not quite. So hopefully if you click share screen and then select the slides,
Yeah.
and confirm.
Oh, right, sorry.
Here,
yeah. Okay.
Great, away we go. Oh, well, at the moment we can see your desktop. We can see a blue desktop.
Yeah, there we go. Is that better now? Now we can see us.
That is. We're
right. Apologies
we'll
for the delay. Okay.
So I'll do the first part. So good morning, everybody, and thank you, Brent Council, for hosting these sessions. My name is Nishma, and together with my husband Mahesh, we founded our award-winning business Shambles in 2005. It was London Borough of Brent's first exclusively vegan plant-based business, and we are very delighted to have been awarded the most green business in Brent Small Business Saturday Awards of 2020. We also have previously won 2 Green Apple Awards for environmental best practice. And as you may have gathered from our image, our 2 core activities are vegan catering and education. So our education activity includes cookery classes and demonstrations, e.g. for corporate team building and staff training for hospitality organizations. So with ever increasing demand for plant-based foods, it is important for staff members to understand the reason behind a customer asking for plant-based foods, identifying animal products within a label, and precautions to take to avoid cross-contamination. So we are a small business, and we wanted to make a difference to the community where we live and beyond. So Shambles was set up to be green and ethically conscious from the beginning. So I'll just explain what makes us a green business. So for that, I'll pass you to Mahesh, who will tell you how we are a green business.
Okay, thanks very much. And the image you see on the right there, just for a bit of distraction, that's a delicious Mediterranean dish, which is poi lentil and fennel, a warm salad. So yeah, I'm going to talk about how we are actually a green business. And yeah, before I start, another image on the right there, that's aubergine parmigiana, and it's a delicious Mediterranean dish. And if you want to know how to make it, just go to our website where you can see a tutorial. On the left is a screenshot from our website where we've set out our ethical stance. And what I want to do is take you to our website, and I can go through what we've written. So just bear with me, and I'll bring up the website. Right, can you see, has the website image come up?
Yes, we can.
Right, so if I go to that page, so I'll sort of go through the points that we've set out on there. And these are the reasons kind of why we are green. So the first point is that all our products, all the items we produce, everything we do is plant-based. And I suppose that to us is the most important aspect in our business. But there are a lot of other points as well. And so the next point down says that we use as far as possible fair trade, organic and UK produced ingredients. And then the next few bullet points after that talk about the packaging and the packaging type of materials we use for our catering. So we use compostable packaging that's recyclable. So when we're using, for example, aluminium foil containers, they're recyclable, but we also try to reuse them as much as we can. So where practical, we offer to take them back from our clients so that we can try and reuse them. The compostable packaging are made from sort of plant starch, plant fibers, and CPLA, which is a kind of compostable plastic. And from the outset, so we're a small business, and we sort of do our catering to order. And so we go and deliver our food, and we purchased a low emissions petrol hybrid vehicle for that. And as far as possible, we we aim for zero food waste, and actually we achieve that most of the time, pretty much all of the time. Another factor is that's often overlooked is where our funds get channeled. You know, who do we bank with? So we've partnered. Our bank is an ethical bank called Triodos Bank. Maybe some of you've heard of that, and they support. So they sort of loan to organisations promoting positive social change, including many green organisations, of course. Also, we have installed solar electric and solar thermal panels. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of sort of how we are a green business, but we've set it up like that from the outset. So I'll just go back to the slides, just bear with me a second. Right, hopefully you can see the slide there that we left off with.
We can, yes.
Right, thank you. So I'll click to the next one. Okay, so now just a bit of distraction. The image you see there is Nishma's tofu tikka masala, which is one of the items we've data for. So for us, what is the highest priority measure for the hospitality sector? And in our view, you know, the hospitality sector, one of the major things is all about one of the activities of the hospitality sector is providing great food. So for us, we think that the priority is in increasing the proportion of plant-based foods that the hospitality sector produces. And you can see the image there. The gentleman there is wearing a t-shirt called Plant-Based Gains. That's his tagline. I wish I could say that was me a while back, but his name, I'm standing next to Hench Herbivore, and this is all, of course, during pre-COVID times, is Hench Herbivore, and he's a personal trainer and an inspiring speaker. But yeah, I thought that slogan sort of says it all, kind of summarizes what we're about here. So why am I saying that? Why are we saying that it's about increasing the proportion of plant-based foods? Well, it's a case of looking at the science and the data. Wherever you look, we're seeing kind of the same messages coming through. So here's just a few sort of quotes I've come across. And the first one says, the overall conclusion is the same. Plant-based foods tend to have a lower carbon footprint than meat and dairy. In many cases, a much smaller footprint. And this quote from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, total emissions from global livestock, 7.1 gigatons CO2 equivalent per year, representing 14.5% of all man-made global greenhouse emissions. And again, the evidence suggests that plant-based foods emit fewer greenhouse gases than meat and dairy regardless of how they're produced. And this is quite a fundamental issue as well. So more than 70% of all agricultural land in Britain is used to rear animals, yet they provide just a small fraction of our nutrient intake. The same amount of land could feed up to 10 times as many people if used to grow crops for human consumption, rather than grazing animals or growing animal feed. So that is a real fundamental issue, that ultimately we're all consuming plants, but we either consume them directly or we consume them by eating the meat of animals that have been fed on plants. And the latter case, when you're consuming animals, is a very inefficient way because of all the resource that's needed to raise those animals, to raise those livestock. This chart here sort of really brings home the message powerfully, I think. So if we look, it's sort of breaking down. We're separating out the various types of foods, and the bars show the sort of emissions levels, the carbon emissions of those types of foods, and basically what you can see is there's the hugely significant greenhouse gas emitters are the meat and dairy products offering sort of occupying the top half of the chart, while most of the plant-based foods, which are grains, vegetables, nuts, fruit, etc., are the least emitting, and they occupy the lower half of the chart. And interestingly, right at the bottom there, you can see that nuts. So this line here, I don't think you can see my mouse pointer, but that's zero. That's zero. And nuts have an actual negative impact, negative carbon impact. So they're they have a negative carbon impact. So what's happening there is that the green represents land use, and by growing nut trees, currently nut trees are being grown on cropland, and they're actually having the effect of absorbing carbon from. So they're actually having a sort of positive reversal impact. And also, what this chart highlights, you can see that in the sort of top half, there's a lot of color coding here. So they're sort of breaking it down into land use, carbon emissions from land use, and carbon emissions from farming, for example, and animal feed, transport, etc. And in the case of sort of livestock farming, the biggest contributors are the actual farming processes themselves and land use.
You've probably got another minute or so, Mahersh.
Thank you. Yeah, won't be long now. So finally, what's the business case for greening your business? So this is really our experience, our personal experience of what's happened. So greening your business generates customer appreciation, which in turn leads to greater customer loyalty. And again, produces repeat business. You get good word of mouth going on, and ultimately all this has a really positive impact on the bottom line. We find that we attract a very discerning, ethically conscious and positive spirited customer base, which is really valuable. And the cost, there's a lower cost of raw materials in terms when you're talking about plant-based meals. So natural plant-based ingredients are generally cheaper than animal-derived ingredients, and can also be cheaper to store. And of course, that will affect the bottom line as well. There's a huge amount of resource and innovation to tap into. So, for example, there are countless new plant-based recipes being developed and available. There are very good plant-based recipes and ingredients available worldwide. You can really tap into the cultures from around the world there. New innovations are happening all the time. For example, currently there's a lot of very interesting low-carbon meat alternative foods, large variety of plant-based burgers that we've all heard about, plant-based sausage rolls, and other plant-based versions of traditionally meat-based fast foods. And of course, you know, if you green your business, you'll draw satisfaction from the positive impact of your eco-friendly business on the planet. So thanks very much. I hope what we had to say, you know, we're a small business, but we hope that what we had to say might inspire some ideas and considerations and even resonate with some of the business owners who are listening here. And now we're really looking forward to hearing the other speakers and the Q&A later on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mahersh. Really inspiring sort of start to the session. I think as a small business, quite extraordinary, everything that you're both achieving there. And I'm sure there'll be lots of questions sort of bubbling away and that folk will want to put back to you shortly. But without further ado, we're going to pass now to Cllr from the passing to Cllr from the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance to get an overview of the sort of national picture and support that's available to the sector. Over to you, Cllr.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, so hopefully you can see my slides. Brilliant. Yeah, so I'm Cllr. I'm from the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, and we are an organisation that's here to help the hospitality industry to progress sustainability. We bring together some of the world's leading hotel companies. We've got 13 members at the moment, covering 25% of the global hotel industry. We've got members of all sizes, so we've got the likes of Hilton and Marriott with thousands of hotels. And then we've got other members who, so the likes of Soneva, who have just 3 hotels. So we really cover the whole range. They're based all over the world, which means that we have a good understanding of challenges that hotels face, but also solutions that are available.
We can't quite yet see your slides, so you may want to just go through the share screen, select the slide and activate.
Right. Okay, I haven't
one more time.
Activated it. Sorry about that. I've clicked on it, but not clicked confirm.
You're away. That's
Brilliant.
great.
Thank you. Right. So yes, so we are focused on helping the hospitality industry to drive a lasting positive impact on the planet and its people. And our key action areas for environmental sustainability are climate action and water stewardship. We also focus on things like food waste and plastics reduction. And we work with external partners to use insight that we gain from our member companies to create free resources that are available for each and every one of you on our website to try and simplify the issues and help you become more sustainable. So the business case. While there might be some nervousness to invest in sustainable improvements, especially at this time when there's such a strain on the industry, there are so many benefits, the financial, the reputational and regulatory, which really demonstrate that there is a strong business case for sustainable hotels. And this, you know, you could put this right across the whole industry, so looking at restaurants as well as hotels. And we created a business case study last year and that really kind of looked into this in detail. And you'll find that 70% of global travellers say they're more likely to book eco-friendly accommodation. And it's an issue that's actually receiving higher focus over the last few years. You know, a couple of years ago, we saw big plastics movement and then climate change came to the fore. It's sort of really at the top of people's minds. And it's something that's only been heightened by the pandemic, with 58% of consumers saying that they're thinking more about the environment since COVID-19. And Also, businesses are increasing the scrutiny that they place on sustainability through their RFP processes and review of hotels. So we're seeing investors also become more interested, and they're adding green criteria into requirements to get access to funding. So being more sustainable can really open doors to green finance mechanisms such as ESG-linked loans, green bonds, and those created by institutional investors. You can also reduce your regulatory costs. So carbon taxes have been around in the UK for quite some time, and anything you can do to reduce your energy can reduce those costs as well. And as I said, you can find more in our report on the business case for sustainable hotels. So what can you actually do? Well, I would suggest following kind of a 4-step process. The first thing is to really measure and analyse your impacts. Then look at that, set your targets, create an action plan, engage your guests, employees and suppliers, and really then communicate your achievements. So thinking about measuring, the first step is really to kind of understand your impact so that you can set that baseline. And you can easily use utility bills to get this information of your consumption for energy and water, and then perhaps speak to your waste contractors or track the number of bin pickups for your waste. And we've got 2 simple tools on our website, which, as I said, freely available. Everything we have on the website is free to use. The Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative and the Hotel Water Measurement Initiative, which you can put your information into, and it helps you to easily calculate your footprint and the impact that you're having. You can do this as a total, but also breaking it down per occupied room, per meeting room space as well, so you can get an idea of where your impacts might be. And then you can compare this to your peers. So there's a tool called the Hotel Footprinting tool, also available through our website. And you can use that to compare to your peers based on the star rating and the country. So you'd be able to look at hotels just within the UK for comparison. And then once you've got this baseline information, you can use it alongside case studies, best practices to set targets. Most hotel businesses in the UK can reduce by about 10 to 40% on their energy consumption. But most companies start looking at sort of 5% per year as a start for reduction. And when you're creating your plan, you can really sort of look at the ideas that can have the biggest impact, but have the lowest cost. So the Carbon Trust have shown that you can get savings of 6% through measures that have a payback of less than a year. So that's quite impressive. And 12 to 13% payback for measures that take less than 2 years. And there's plenty of guidance out there about how you can do this. So we've got various case studies on our website. We've got an environmental management manual, and there's also the likes of the Carbon Trust that has hotel specific guidance. And I think they also have stuff for restaurants as well. So quick wins include things like LED lighting, using sensors, switching to renewable energy can really help reduce your carbon impacts, but also thinking about your behaviour, so how you operate your hotel or your restaurant. Things like switching on equipment when you need it. So rather than going into the kitchen first thing in the morning and just switching everything on no matter when you need it, really sort of thinking about structuring how you use your equipment as and when you need it. And then the second thing is looking at heating. So heating can actually be 40% of the energy used in a hotel, and you can reduce your costs by about 20% through just maintenance and good use of temperature controls. So that can be quite a substantial saving. Also thinking about heating, hot water is responsible for 25% of the energy used in an average hotel. So if you can reduce your water use, you can also have a big impact on your energy costs. So things like tap aerators, low flow shower heads, they're fairly low cost and can be quite simple to install. You can also think about using leftover bottles of water on any planting that you might have. I realise this is London, so there won't be sort of big landscapes, but you know, you might have a couple of potted plants that you could use it on. And then also ensuring that you're using the best size pan for boiling food to avoid using more water than needed, and also the energy needed to heat it up. Waste is a key area for hotels and restaurants. Plastics have received a huge amount of focus in recent times, and there's been a reduction in the efforts on plastics, I think, since COVID, but there are still lots of things that can be done, and the UNWTO has provided some great guidance, which is available on their website, about how you can still focus on plastics during COVID. Food waste is possibly the biggest, definitely the biggest waste issue that's in hospitality. And you can increase profitability at the same time as sustainability by reviewing how much you purchase, ensuring good stock control, and diverting food waste through your contractor, or by composting. And you save on landfill tax that way as well. So again, saving money. And it's great to hear the things that are happening in Brent already, actually. So we're currently finalising fact sheets on various sustainability issues, which provide top-level guidance on how you can get started on energy, water, food waste and plastics reduction, and they'll be available on our website later this year. So the third step is looking at engaging your employees and your suppliers, and these are both vital allies in your efforts. Simple changes in employee behaviour can save up to 10% on energy and water consumption, and they'll be best placed within your operations to really look and see where you can make savings, what behavioural activities could be done differently to really reduce the use of energy and water and the creation of waste. And you can think about moving people between departments to really kind of, I guess, get fresh eyes on the situation. And by engaging them, you can really help to drive loyalty by showing that you align with their values, and that's something that's becoming ever more important. You can think about creating competitions as whole hotels or restaurants or between different teams within your businesses to drive engagement. And the Carbon Trust have some guidance available on how you can create employee awareness campaigns and get your teams involved. And then WRAP also has some guidance available for focusing on food waste. Engaging with your suppliers is also a key step to take, so they can help you become more sustainable, whether through new technologies, energy saving products they can provide, or the ability to help source low waste products. Or they might be able to provide you with, for example, plant-based alternatives. So you can work with the likes of outsourced laundry companies who might have ways to reduce the energy and water use as well. So it can go right across kind of the list of services that you provide. And then thinking about communicating your achievements, it's very important that you keep tracking your impacts and achievements, and then you can use them to communicate with your key stakeholders. So you can let your teams know how it's going, what their efforts are contributing to, which helps to maintain engagement levels. But you can also review your interactions with any business customers that you might have to see where you can communicate your achievements, ensure that you're including information in the likes of RFPs, and make sure to highlight the things that are most important to them in their own sustainability strategies. And then finally on this, there might also be events and days throughout the year that you can leverage to communicate with your guests, or you can create sustainable experiences for them. So one that's coming up very soon is WWF's Earth Hour, which is coming up at the end of the month. And you can create sustainable dining experiences with low carbon, plant-based menus. You could use candlelight, acoustic music, that all creates a brilliant experience for your guests, but also reduces the impact and really sort of creates awareness about the issue. And then finally, we have lots of resources on our website. As I mentioned, everything is free. We have things like a business case for sustainability, which will give you more information on the things that I've covered. But then we also have water stewardship guidance, decarbonisation guidance, and then, yeah, more fact sheets coming up, as well as those tools that I mentioned to track and monitor your or get an idea of your environmental footprint. Thank you.
Goodness, lots more packed in there for us to sort of chew over and start to reflect on the implications, I suppose, for Brent and individual sort of businesses across the borough. But before we open up for questions, as I said at the start, we've got one more case study, and here we're sort of turning from a very local business to a global brand, albeit operated by a local franchisee. So welcome, Rima. We really look forward to hearing your story and the journey that you've been on with McDonald's.
Thank you, Andrew. And thanks, Claire, because it's definitely given me a platform to start on. So good morning. As Andrew said, I own several McDonald's in the Brent area. And today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about what we are doing as a brand, but also what we are doing locally and how this is impacting on cost savings as well for our business. Firstly, I think we need to, as a McDonald's brand, we have an opportunity and an equal responsibility to help mitigate the impact of climate change and find more sustainable ways to feed people. And we first need to be the leaders, and hopefully people can also follow and take ideas as well. So talking from a brand level, first of all, plastic toys. From the beginning of this year, we no longer offer non-sustainable hard plastic toys in our Happy Meal. By doing this, we have removed over 3,000 tonnes of plastic from our supply chain. We've also, in the last 24 months, we've switched from plastic straw to paper straw. All our UK branches is part of a green drive last year, and all our straws is 100% now recyclable. Packaging, we are always thriving to get rid of all plastic from all our packaging, and that is our aim over the next 24 months. So one of the things we've done is McFlurry. If you've ever had one, the lid is sort of plastic. We've now moved that to cardboard, fully recyclable. People don't believe me when I tell them this story, but we actually, where we use oil for our fries, or chicken, protein, vegetarian, there's all this oil. We actually recycle our oil, so nothing goes to waste, and we turn it into biodiesel. And what that means is all our entire UK delivery fleets is run on biodiesel. So all our drivers that come and deliver our food, they actually take our oil, we recycle it, and we put it back into the trucks. This has created 6,900 fewer tonnes of CO2 and lower sulfide diesel. Paper and card are all certified by the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC, or the Programme for Endorsement of Forest Certificate, which means basically it comes from sustainable source. From a local level, what are we doing? So the brand are doing quite a lot, and what we can be responsible from a local level in the Brent area. So firstly, I think Claire touched on, there's carbon taxes. Also in 2022 April, there's going to be a plastic packaging tax. Most of Europe have already started it, and it is coming. So the way we see it is, if we don't move now, we're just going to pay a lot more, and obviously it's great for the environment. So first of all, in all our restaurants in Brent, we have recycling units installed. So basically our customers do all the job for us. They put general waste, and then we have where you can put cups and your straws, etc. And the customers, as they're in the dining area or as they leave, they actually have now got customed where to put things. What does this mean? Well, not only are we good for the environment, but Viola, who is our chosen people to pick up our bins, they charge us 50% less to pick up plastic recyclable waste than general waste. So what that means is my bin collection has become cheaper. In fact, we've saved per restaurant just by putting these recycling units in. We've saved 1,800 per annum just per restaurant. And literally our customers do it for us. Veolia charges us a lot less. LED, so 96% of my part of my restaurant is LED. We made this investment and it was slightly, we thought, oh, is it a bit more expensive? But it's paid back and we got a return actually within the first 12 months. The LED light bulbs are more expensive, but they obviously last longer. But also our energy has come down. We've roughly saved around the £7,500 mark per restaurant just by moving everything LED. The other things we've done on a restaurant is we've built an energy management system. And all it is actually something online. And if, for instance, our crew walk into their crew room, changing rooms, the lights will come on and it will switch off as they leave. It'll have a timer. Also, our air conditioning will switch off. Instead of leaving it manually to managers to remember at the end of the day, because not all the stores are 24/7, it will automatically shut down anyway, sort of an hour after we close the restaurant. And again, this is with our lighting and air conditioning. And as recently, Rishi Sunak announced some funding for local businesses around energy saving. And this is something that could actually go straight hand in hand into that. Again, this one people don't believe, but all our urinals are waterless. I have had people and customers looking down to check, and it absolutely is. So we've definitely gone through the urinals, which are all waterless. The other thing is we've done is we feel we need to give back. So since 1982, McDonald's do litter picks, but in our restaurants, 3-day parts, if it's a 24-hour restaurant, we do 4-day parts where we will walk around Brent and we will pick up rubbish, whether it's ours or any other food, half a mile around our restaurant. We feel it's our responsibility to pick up that waste and actually put it in our bin. So we're trying to also keep litter free, and my team are also part of the British Spring Cleanup. So basically, in summary, I believe we all play a part in helping our planet, helping the next generation, as well as having some cost savings. And that's all I've got today. Thanks.
Goodness, lots there again for us to be soaking up, Rima, and I've certainly got questions up my sleeve as always, even if sort of colleagues that are attending are perhaps dumbstruck by everything that you're all achieving and are searching for questions. But as I said at the start, please do either start to pop your hands up using the raise hand function at the end of the participants list, or make use of the chat window to let me know any questions that you'd like to be put to the panel over the next 20 minutes. But just to get the conversation started, I thought it was interesting, Nishma and Mahersh, how you started almost where we left off in our last webinar, and with your focus on the switch from meat to plant-based diets. And clearly that's quite a challenge for many individuals and families that perhaps haven't been used to a very different diet to make that switch. I wondered sort of what your tips are around what for some might be quite a difficult conversation. You know, if you're very used to eating lots of meat, enjoy eating meat, how do we convince people to make that switch?
Yeah, well, you know, times have changed so much. I think nowadays, what we're finding is a lot more people are. There's a lot more openness now towards the sort of plant-based way of eating. I mean, you know, there's a lot more awareness, I think, especially about the environmental impact, and you know, there are sort of organisations like Veganuary doing fabulous work, sort of educating the public about all this and providing opportunities to try plant-based foods. I mean, a case study is Greggs when they came out with their plant-based sausage roll, and then that was a phenomenal success. I believe McDonald's are also trying various plant-based options as well. Most of the fast food chains are doing that, and yeah, it's just a case of giving it a go, really. Nishma, do you want to add something?
So all those changes, they're coming from customer up. So if the customers are demanding, that's why all these plant-based foods are coming into play. And for most people to convince them, I don't even really have to convince them. They have realized, they've seen the stats. The customers are very informed these days, and there's so many documentaries coming saying that that meat does not have any fiber, and fiber is one nutrient that has never been talked about. So people are either becoming flexitarians, reducitarians, or vegetarians. So they're also always consuming less meat these days. That's what I'm finding.
Fascinating. And Rima, from a McDonald's perspective, how are you experiencing the shift? I imagine at the moment you're still selling more meat-based burgers than plant-based, but is there a tipping point ahead?
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely resonate with Nishma as well. So there is a demand, and it's coming. In fact, we were supposed to launch it in January 21, plant-based. The reason why we've delayed is COVID, Brexit. It just means supply chain with the volumes we're doing has slightly slowed it down, but it is coming very, very soon. And look, our customers are demanding it. We believe in choice. So there is it's a vegetarian option, but there's also plant-based, which sort of taste a little bit like the meat, but not quite. And customers are really liking that sort of texture, that feeling. And what our aim is this plant-based that we're about to introduce. It's not just going to go into a burger. You can make anything out of it. So whether it's chicken nuggets, which you can get plant-based nuggets, you can put it in any sort of burger. So it's all coming. But it's our customers have been lobbying us for a while now, and our vegetarian is good, but they want more. And we have to, and we will be putting that on the menu.
So watch this space in the months ahead,
Basically,
from the sounds of it, for a shifting menu in McDonald's West London. That's very, very exciting. So to kind of move the conversation on perhaps a bit to this area of cost, which I saw came through in a number of your presentations. I think we've heard possibly some bits of good news, maybe a little bits of bad news in there. I was very struck by the figures you shared, Rima, in terms of Veolia now, and really quite aggressively incentivizing customers to move towards recycling, which is great news. But Claire, you talked about green finance. Can you kind of expand a bit more on sort of what that means in practice for the hospitality sector? What sort of options and opportunities that opens up for folk?
Yeah, sure. So you have the likes of the World Bank, who are putting forward options for finance, but also just any bank that you would be banking with, the likes of HSBC, Barclays, when they're looking at loans to businesses, they are looking at the kind of future sustainability of that business to make sure that they're going to get their money back, basically. And part of that is looking at the environmental sustainability, putting in green requirements, making sure that you have a plan in place to particularly with the likes of carbon reduction, where that will become ever more important, making sure that you're taking that into account to ensure that your costs in the future are reduced, and that you are going to be able to continue to have the business. This particularly comes into play when you're looking at the building itself, the real estate, because as things change, as more taxes come in, it will have an impact on the value of buildings. If they aren't sustainable, their value will drop, and that will have a big impact on businesses' ability to pay back funds.
So potentially, with both of our business owners with us today, if they were looking to expand and going to the bank to open up new branches, new outlets, etc., they could be having a sort of green loan conversation
exactly.
if they're sort of implementing the sort of exemplary practices that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Now, I'm going to, so in the last sort of 10 minutes or so, invite everyone on the panel to kind of look forward a bit to what you're going to do next. I mean, it's all fantastic what you're already doing, but where do you see the opportunities for even more improvements? And I suppose for Cllr, that's a question at a sort of industry-wide level. What are your priorities for the year ahead for the industry? But equally, Rima and Nishma and Mahersh, where can you see opportunities for improvement? I'm going to turn first of all, I think, back to Nishma and Mahersh. Possibly the hardest for you, because I have to say it looked phenomenal what you're already doing. I did wonder, and to maybe just sort of challenge you a little bit, have you looked at the carbon footprint of your supply chain yet? Are you asking difficult questions of your suppliers?
So when it comes to the supply chain, we have a very small supply chain. And all of them, they are into plant-based foods themselves. So, and some of them have moved their premises. So we haven't asked that question at the moment, but we do have a personal connection with them. Sorry, what was the other question? I forgot.
The other part was what next? What's on your list of improvements for the year ahead?
So what next is I started training, started teaching. So I started teaching, and so this is like directly to customers, not even customers, but just general community. And I think soon Brent will after Easter, they're going to be providing a healthy plant-based cooking and eating program. So I will be starting in after Easter. So that's in the pipeline at the moment.
So the whole pandemic situation meant that we have to do a lot more online innovation, and that's sort of focused our attention on teaching a lot more, expanding our educational side of it. So yeah, Nishma has been teaching a lot of online cookery. I suppose that goes back to your question about how do you help people transition to plant-based, and that's another way we're trying to do that, to sort of teach great recipes. We've got a few videos on our website.
So giving us all the confidence to experiment in our kitchens at home under lockdown. Yeah,
but also expanding, not just for people, definitely for people at home, but also, to help businesses as well, to help the industry, maybe, so how to perhaps convert sort of some of your dishes to plant-based. Sorry.
Yeah, we often talk about green skills and the transitions that has got to happen in every profession, and clearly you're beavering away with your colleagues across West London's kitchens. I'm going to turn now to Cllr to take us back to the big picture, and the national opportunities for the year ahead.
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, there's great opportunity for collaboration, and that's between businesses, kind of different restaurants, different hotels, but also with suppliers. So very much focusing on responsible consumption. So part of that will be kind of the plant-based side of it, food waste, plastics, looking at the supply chain and really kind of focusing on the overall impact. So I think a lot of great work has already happened, focusing on the businesses kind of on site, but there's a lot more that can be done looking at the whole supply chain and the impacts that we have through that.
Interesting, good to hear. Rima and McDonald's, you've given us a flavour with your sort of plant-based burgers of what's in store, but what else are you thinking about right now?
So first of all, it's to try and go 100% plastic free, and this is from water bottles where you might purchase. Could we do more on that? We were, before COVID, letting customers, if they bought their own bottles, we would fill it up for them in water, but because of COVID and contamination, we've had to unfortunately stop that. fork and knives, we're doing a lot of testing around sort of more wooden based ones rather than plastic. So the aim for us is to go 100% plastic free. The other things that we're really investing in is probably through technology. So for instance, receipts are coming out. Could we deliver that potentially, you know, if customers want it through their emails or mobile? We're putting a lot of money into mobile apps. That becomes a lot cheaper from a footprint, but also, again, receipts, orders. So a lot going on. How can we make digital? I can't say too much more, but how much we make digital work for us in this new world of saving, should we say, costs. And I think there's a lot more going on there, but yes, I think it's more the plastic in the store and from sort of technology.
So lots of McDonald's customers to be looking out for in the months ahead, which is good to hear. And I think it's also been very striking, of course, across the sector, how COVID has sort of accelerated some of these changes, particularly with regards to digital. Well, goodness, we've covered a huge amount of ground there, and as we said at the start, all of the resources that you've been kind enough to share with us today will both be in the recorded version of today's webinar, but also I think available as sort of separate sort of downloads in due course. This programme does continue. We have one more webinar in store focusing on the media and creative sector. So please sign up through Eventbrite for that fifth and final webinar in the series. As we mentioned at the start of today's workshop, we would encourage everyone to sign up to the Brent Environment or Environmental Network, as well as the Brent Business e-newsletter to stay in touch with further developments and sort of programs of activity coming from the local authority and partners. So finally, it's just for me to say once again a huge thank you to all our panelists today for your contributions and insights and indeed inspiration to kick us off at the start of this Wednesday. We look forward to staying in touch with you all and hearing how your stories develop in due course. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.